The CPS system is broken at a national level because of Title IV-E, because there is not due process.
13 Investigates has learned the Indiana Court of Appeals is now blasting DCS for repeatedly violating parents' rights. The past several months, 10 separate cases were all sent back to court after DCS essentially admitted it violated parents' due process and failed to tell them the state was terminating their parental rights.
Attorneys Sarah Clay and Karen Faulkner are just two of several lawyers who say social workers are taking kids out of homes illegally.
What is currently in place has caused numerous issues.
Here's how it works. If someone from the Kentucky Cabinet of Health and Family Services believes a child needs to be removed from a home because of abuse, neglect, or drug use, they'll fill out this emergency custody order.
The system that's in place allows a worker for the cabinet to essentially create their own court order without a judge ever seeing it.
The blank orders are pre-signed by a judge, and then copies are made. All a social worker does is fill them out.
A lot of constitutional implications when you're taking someone's children away. They have a liberty interest in raising their own children. There's also, of course, serious trauma to children.
Fiscal year 2018, the Inspector General found 6 employees had either falsified case notes or provided false testimony in court. 2017, there were also 6 employees. 2016, 10.
The judge ruled last year that these agreements are unlawful and that the department violated the constitutional rights of these parents. So that's why we're looking into this.
No one's willing to say why Department of Human Services Inspector General Carolyn Ham is on leave.
Ham's department has not exactly been forthcoming with this news today. We have had to tease it out of them, essentially. Last week, an audit called out a serious rift between Ham and the investigators who have to look into fraud in the state's child care assistance program. Last week, the head of DHS's investigative unit looking into child care fraud said that perhaps as much as half of the $217 million spent on the program per year was going to fraud.
Welcome back. We have a very disturbing story of an attorney, 67-year-old grandmother who has been practicing law for 25 years. She is concerned about child separation, children being separated from their families. No, not at the border. No, these are American citizens. Black, white, Hispanic, you name it. Having their children kidnapped by CPS. And because she was talking about it, because she refused to be gagged, she has now been arrested.
I've been an attorney for 25 years. I know the law. I know what constitutional rights are for parents, and I have been a thorn in their side. And now this particular case that they are using is one in which they got an ex parte order. I didn't know at that time, but they had already had another hearing behind her back. They didn't call her and tell her they had a hearing. They didn't call her and tell her they had filed anything. They did everything ex parte. That not even the judge in that county signed the order, that they took it to another county and got an order signed by a judge who is not even the county judge. This being able to cart your documents off by DCS workers to another county under the claim that they've got some freaking emergency, it has got to stop. It is a constitutional right to be able to parent your children and to do so in a safe and secure home without the interference with the government. And they abuse the ex parte process all the time. People have got to wrap their head around this. It is money driven. It is a bureaucracy that is feasting on our children. It is feasting on our kids. And we have got to put our foot down and we've got to go after them.
The issue is whether or not DHS as an organization routinely and intentionally violates state law, the Child Protective Services law. And from what I've seen, it does, it has, and it justifies it.
Announced that the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, aka CPS, should be appointed managing conservator, meaning having custody of the 6-year-old. The jury's answer, no.
CPS's rights were basically terminated also.
Through testimony, the jury heard the horrors the 6-year-old endured while in CPS custody.
This child had been placed in over 7 placements in 12 months. He had been physically abused by a foster mother. He had been placed in psychiatric care.
Attorney Julie Kellerman says the 6-year-old was erroneously told 3 times he was going to be adopted.
And then he was sexually abused in the placement, the foster home he's currently in. It was unanimous. It wasn't even 10 to 2. It was unanimous. We polled the jury. You're either going to respect that or you're not.
Right now, the 6-year-old remains in the same foster home where he was sexually abused by a 14-year-old for 3 weeks.
Our State Department has now said that our foster care system is the leading trafficker of children, and we need to pay more attention to this and listen to what we already know. If that's the case, and I don't know if it's because of negligence that the sex trafficking is happening or if it's because of evil intent. I don't know, and it hasn't been revealed yet. But in this case, these people have been informed that a child is possibly being sexually abused. They have been informed by an attorney of the court that they are breaking the law, and they are refusing to follow it. They are refusing to follow their own laws, and there's no one that I can find to hold them accountable for doing it.
My children were taken from me based on a presumption, not on facts and evidence, not on a trial. I know hundreds of parents personally who are denied visitation based on nothing more than a judge's personal opinion. This is a clear violation of due process. The U.S. Supreme Court has determined that a parent cannot be stripped of legal rights to their children without a strict scrutiny hearing. When I told my judge I wanted a strict scrutiny hearing, she leaned into the microphone and said, "Miss O'Doherty, strict scrutiny does not apply in my courtroom." Is that the minute you walk into family court or juvenile dependency court, there's a complete disregard of due process. There's a blatant disregard for the liberty interests protected by the U.S. Constitution. And I will argue there is a willful and intentional destruction of families for profit.
Title IV is a series of federal laws through the Social Security Act that directly fund the state family courts. Great minds in family courts studied the laws and figured out how to maximize their federal dollars. In foster care, at-risk kids are removed from homes. The more kids they remove, the more federal dollars flow. So child protection agencies use virtually any excuse to nab kids from perfectly good homes. Foster kids are the most likely candidates for child trafficking. Title IV laws are destroying families. Millions of children are affected every year. We need to stop Title IV funding now. Contact and educate your representatives. Plan or attend family court reform events. Educate others. Spread the word. We need to end Title IV funding now.